day uyu borom jasna pire soo ko bëggee fii si biir Gambia bi dawal foofu sa quality jasna your number one stop shop ana sama jigéen ñi dama bëgg ngeen jox ma seen nopp garme yi ndaxte quality jasna amal nañ leen ay til yu toj daala poos abaya yu yiiw waaye it amal nañ leen ay boreda yu rafet boreda yoo xam ne pour góor ñi la ak pour jigéen ñi amal nañ leen body scrub yi nga xam ne nii dafay defar seen yaram bam nice waaye it fàttewuñ fa diw yi ana sama jeeg yu pare yi quality jasna amal nañ leen fa andi cuuraay yu neex house spray ak bépp xeetu baax pour seen biir néeg dama ne atum ren jii ku sa jëkkër mere ku ne yow la neex ndaxte quality jasna ñëw na si dëkk bi pour defar sëy yi makeup artist yi bàyyi leen gannaaw ñu ngi leen fa amal ay makeup product yu quality waxu leen léegi nii foofa sa Westfield jàkkaarloog monument bi wala nga jokkoo quality jasna si 250 01 24 ak quality jasna taaral sa bopp taaral sa néeg waaye it dëggal sa alaaji aas.
Sidi Njie dafa apologize to man on the phone balaa lii di xew kooluñ ma woon nag fooguma yegoon na koy tamit man maa ko kool but bi ma ko koolee dafa apologize to man and I will give a typical example démba Sidi Njie bi maa wax ak moom daf ma doon encourage ne ma bàyyi press conference bi man ko I paid a courtesy call to him Gambien yaa ko fal te media bi dañ ci jàpp bu baax
nañ ci rôle
yes 2016 biñ demee ba former président Yaya Jammeh daanu Gambien si wateel ko moom Adama Barrow yaa ne du joxe nguur those days dañ ñu soxla woon de ngosi ñu ne press conference weeda moom la weeda Halifa Sallah la ak everybody fàtte xeju fi
ndax yàggul
fàtte xeju fi waaw yàggul demee ba fu nekk nii wax naa ko ci suma press conference bi ne nguur président Adama Barrow dafa mel ni dañ xaw a ragal ab media bi ak li soosee di wax ne nii man kuutee la soo defu dara amuloo looy ragal after 3 years jot na si la gars yi put a moratorium on media license nangu ñoo joxe radio license soosee ñu ne alpha yaamu kangole di
kilifteef kaddu la
te kaddu rek nga am te loolu dafa am solo
te kaddu ku lay dimbale pour nga jàllale ko kooku defe naa ne daf lay dooleel
waaw but fi ma waxee ci loolu sax mooy képp koo xam ne kilifa nga from président bi laak njiiti political parties yëpp dañ am rôle si seen party supporters si party militants ak leen a toppa ñi ma def lii démba toj ba kenn Malick bi ndax comme naa ne président Adama Barrow moo leen wax ñu dem def ko
fooguñ ko because NPP ñu ngi nii di ko condemn
yes
as a party léegi nga méngale ko rek ak green yi
naaw green yi Yaya Jammeh yi li du wax ni yëpp weddiwu ma ko ne lu baax la but yenn yi li tax ma ne njiit sa kàddu nga am li nga ne président Barrow li mu wax noonu dafa dooleel nit soo taxawee nga wax dara sa kàddu dafa taxaw you have authority lépp lu génnee sa làmmiñ dafa taxaw lépp lu génnee sa làmmiñ dafa fës lépp lu génnee sa làmmiñ it's a policy président bi du jóg wax leen ne dem leen ngeen attaque diw sàngam but ñoom dañoo jàppaloolu and you can hear them am na système bu fa nekk mu ngi suma vidéo yi mu ne who cares dañ leen faale tee leen seen caméra yi dañ leen faale suma letter mu ngi State House terewut ma def li ma def nii liñ ma def du right and I condemn it te dama bëgg ñu apologize
we all condemn it but
good evening. Welcome back to your favorite program, Bankola Kuwo here at Government Talents TV at the Red Cross building in Westfield. Just to remind you that it is again your favorite presenter, Sirif Conte, here. And my guest tonight is ex-commissioner or former commissioner of TRRC, the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission. The famous TRRC, I can say. That is Imam Jallow, Imam Jallow. Some would say Imam Jallow. Imam, welcome.
Thank you very much.
You can greet the viewers. Right now they're watching you.
Viewers, I greet you and welcome you to this program.
Yes, it's been a while, Imam, since the TRRC wraps up. And it was a very, very famous commission in the, I can say, in the world, where you guys were able to have a lot of experience there, interact with so many people and and also do many reconciliation programs and other things. So first of all, how did you become a commissioner, and how was that selection done, as far as you understand?
Well, the selection was a countrywide thing by division. The selection, I'm not too sure I know how
You
it
know
was
how.
done,
Mhm.
because one day I got a message from Batambidu, who was then the
Former Minister of Justice, Attorney General.
and Minister of Justice,
Mhm.
from Mecca, informing me that I have a letter in his office and I have been selected as one of the commissioners for the TRRC. That's how I came to know that I was a member. I was never informed
Mhm.
until on that day.
Mhm.
Then I went there, picked up the letter,
Mhm.
and I discovered that it was a worthwhile venture,
Mhm.
and it's for a national issue, and therefore I should undertake the task.
Mhm.
And I did.
And first of all, when you get, by then you didn't know what TRRC in fact meant at the beginning.
No, I didn't know. I'd never known anything about it. I used to hear it on the radio that they were establishing a commission known as the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission. But I never expected I would be a member. I was very pleased when I was selected.
So before then, you understand you are an educationist. What are some of your experience in terms of education and the hierarchy in the government, until the time you were selected to become one of the commissioners? And
Well, it's a long history, but I will cut it short. I started off as a primary school teacher in 1963. And I worked hard to go through my O and A levels in those days under the London GCE program. And I finally was selected to study in Sierra Leone in 1968 to do a degree.
that was in today.
Yeah, to do a degree in English and education. So I did a bachelor's degree in education, major in English and a minor in geography. And after a short while, I was lucky to be promoted as an education officer. And that very same year, I was asked to act as principal education officer, URR today, what they now call URR. And that's what I stayed on until in 1988, when I retired from government to take up a job with the Gambia Family Planning as a program officer. It was for a short spell, and I had to leave. So I went back to teaching at the Gambia College as a lecturer, senior lecturer, and then subsequently to MDI as registrar, and then to Standard Chartered Bank as human resource manager, and then back again to GTTI as senior lecturer in English. So from there that I was selected to head the new Sheikh Hamdan Senior Secondary School at Yundum. And I worked with them until in 2004. And I opened my own school at Brufut, named it after my late son, Ali Badra. This was in 2000. And the school started operating in 2001. We are still there. We are also doing other things in education.
You're expanding, right?
My wife and I have developed, we are all teachers by profession. So we started a daycare center in our house at Pipeline. That grew up to be the source of our great pride. From in less than 10 years, we have been able to build a daycare center, a nursery, a primary, a junior secondary, and now a senior secondary, which we share with a Quranic organization headed by Alaji Mamani Jai, Jamiatul Quran Karim. And that's where we're based now. I'm running that senior secondary school for my family. And my entire family is there now working, either at the primary the daycare center, or the nursery. Apart from that, I had brief spells with Standard Chartered Bank as a human resource manager, and I think that goes it for my CV.
It's quite a very impressive one. Being running from this institution to the other one, it goes with a lot of experience. And yes, so when it comes to the TRRC, arguably it is one of the best people following. It was very, very famous at some point. Even the ones that were involved in there were very famous in the streets and other places. Yes. First, Imam, what is the most important thing you have learned from the TRRC first? Because we need to discuss a lot with regards to how you were doing things and how you were negotiating and other things in terms of bringing people together again and some of those things.
The first thing I learned was the degree of involvement of people in very heinous actions. I mean, I was shocked. The first day I heard somebody said, he, Mr. So-and-so, and I killed X. That was shocking for me because as a Gambian, I have never heard that in my life. I didn't expect that I would find a Gambian who would face me and tell me, I killed Mr. X. Well, although he was remorseful about it, which is the most interesting thing, because he wept. And I said, we have been forced to do these things. But in the process, I grew up to accept it. I used to cry a lot at the TRRC when they explained these gruesome killings and malhandling of people. It used to hurt me because by nature I am a very calm person. I'm not a problematic person. I love people, and I can understand how anybody can deliberately go out to hurt you. Somebody you don't even know, you have never had anything to do with. How can he drag you to a corner and kill you in cold blood? That was my first experience, and I was shocked. But over time, I got used to it. We will listen and cry a little, all of us. Everybody at TRC used to cry. Yeah.
Even behind the cameras.
Everybody, the crowd, the chairman, even the solicitors, they used to cry with us. It was too pathetic. The stories were too hard for us to bear. And I don't know how people did that. I didn't ever expect that Gambians would do that. I used to hear I studied in Sierra Leone. I know the mentality of those people at that time and how I can see slowly they developed into a very catastrophic situation of killing and maiming and cutting hands, asking you if you want a long sleeve or a short sleeve. But if you studied in Sierra Leone in the early 60s, going towards 70s and 80s, then you will see that this thing was coming in slowly.
Yeah, it didn't came at once.
No. You see, what I quite remember, even at university, we used to have what you call, you have to pay protection fee not to be cartooned. So if you do anything wrong in the university, if you have a girlfriend, you quarrel with her, the next thing is they will cartoon you, put it in the dining room, and when you come to eat, they'll be honking the tables and the chairs, and your picture would be there, or your drawing, and some statements from you, or for whatever they have had from the quarrel between the two of you. So, you have to pay what you call protection fee in order to be done that. In Freetown itself, there were gangs. You have to pay for them not to steal from your house.
To pay?
Yeah, you pay
tax?
people. Yeah, it's tax. You pay. They call it protection fee. So if you pay, even if they steal your things, just report to them. They will bring everything back. But I never expected that the Gambia would be creeping also towards that, where people will have to people will face them in broad daylight and in cold blood
Mhm.
kill them. I never expected that would happen. So when I had this story in Sierra Leone of the conflict and the war there,
Mhm.
and it was just a war among people and tribes,
Mhm.
I was shocked.
But you say like you say it came bit by bit.
Yeah, slowly. You see, when there is anarchy, anarchy does not come overnight.
Mhm.
It crawls in slowly. People try to test that different waters for themselves.
Mhm.
Today they will do this. Okay, that will succeed. Then they will move to the next step.
Mhm.
Start fighting, raping girls,
Mhm.
killing people, and then in the end, it will be everybody's business. So you all will plunge into it. So
So
this is
so the case of Gambia, um, with the way the country was at the time, you have never or you weren't even expecting those kind of things to happen, even though we were in a dictatorship, we were in a government that is dictatorial in nature, but you have not even once think about this.
yes, the Gambian case is a special case.
Mhm.
It is not the people themselves
Mhm.
amongst themselves.
Mhm.
This was controlled
Mhm.
by the most powerful person in the country.
Mhm.
He was the head,
Mhm.
and he dictated what would happen.
Mhm.
If he says, go for Mr. X,
Mhm.
you are gone.
Mhm.
So it was a matter of an organized crime
Mhm.
or a group organized to kill or to maim or to do anything wrong. It was the then leader against the rest of the country. That's how I see it. Because everybody tells you, he used to tell us to do this, and that. And that was very interesting, how people could bow down to that type of practice, to kill people overnight, to eat with somebody at dinner
Mhm.
who is your friend,
Mhm.
only to take him out into the bush and kill him. I mean, I never expected any Gambian would do that. But this had developed with time because
Like in
also,
the case of Oya,
yeah,
would say he would go to a one I forgot about the name, but I once had him saying
yes,
they used to go to somebody
yes,
to
to
chat
somebody's wife,
sometimes
your
to
the
even
wife is his friend,
I
and he used
remember
to go
that.
there and eat and share meals. And then when they were instructed to kill him, they
Mhm.
came for him that night, and one of them told the wife,
Mhm.
say your prayers because this man will never come back.
Hmm?
That is shocking. And that's what happened. And I was more shocked when we went to Unum camp
Mhm.
to unearth and see what
The
remains were there
graves,
of the people.
the graves.
As soon as they removed his pants,
Mhm.
she shouted. She was standing next to me. She shouted, "That belongs to my husband."
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very sad. Those moments are still remaining, I'm sure, with many of us.
Mhm.
But then we have learned how to grow out of it because, after all, what has happened has happened. But I hope it does not happen again in this country.
But sometimes you will hear people saying, even though some um, witnesses will come, perpetrators would come and say, yes, I was the one who did X, Y, Z, but I was also, for example, forced to do or something like that. But some would say that is not true because some of them, um, um, they did it because they were expecting some things from the president or something like that.
No,
In
what I gathered
compensation.
from that group,
Mhm.
nobody, they are all very remorseful and regret.
Like when they're testifying.
Yeah, when they testify. But this was organized, and they were directed on the command to what they were supposed to do. One day, Oya himself disclosed to us that when they are going to do get X or Y,
Mhm.
nobody will know until the mission is on. And when you go, you will never tell this to anybody.
Mhm. Yes.
You will never tell anybody what has happened or where it happened. So there was big secrecy surrounding all these activities. And they were all in it, but under instruction. So it's not that they deliberately did what they did on their own. They were instructed. And they tell you it's the command. A soldier only knows the command and nothing more. Yeah.
But if you one would ask you, for example, would you believe at the time, for example, how Jame was in terms of, very active in religious things and other things, to say, for example, Jame will come and give some kind of instructions like that, leading to loss of many lives and other things, and now coming back, seeing these people testifying, how do you able to connect these things, for example, to even trust that yes, this is what these people are testifying is exactly what Jame was doing or was saying, or in a short, you believe them, for example, this command from Jame himself at the time, seeing how Jame was active in the religious activities, participating, helping.
Well, we were not there to judge as to whether this is true or not. We are only interested in getting the facts and then analyzing them and making decisions on what should happen. I mean, when they tell you, well, the high command is there and they have come from the generals to the colonels to the captains, they have all come before the TRRC and they have all confessed that they were on the direction. So I'm not in the position to say that this is true or not. No. But the fact that it was mentioned, it was a matter for serious consideration for the TRRC. So, and that's what we did.
And now, because people like, for example, Sana, who sat there after testifying, also, expressed that they are regretted and, asked for forgiveness and other things. You would see some people saying, yes, definitely this person didn't mean this, and in fact he should be forgiven and some other things. But then at some point also, how do you make sure these people meet? Because it is not going to be, some people are very, very angry with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
there are three categories of people that have come before us, as far as I'm concerned. Those that were very truthful, those that were not truthful at all.
throughout.
Throughout, they were not truthful. And then there are that category of people who were intentionally keeping out facts and still provoking the public as to their responsibility for specific actions. So all these people together, you can see that they were directed and motivated by authority. None of the actions I see there is personal. It is an action that you are asked to do. And that is very important when you come to making decisions about the responsibility of each person at the end of the TRRC. We had big tasks and big arguments and disagreements on who should be held responsible and who should not be. Yeah.
Like, for example, in the case of Yankuba Toure.
Yeah. He was very defiant from the moment he entered you could see the way he's walking, the way his posture, his composure, and he just dismissed the commission as nonsense. That he's above the commission.
Even at the beginning,
yeah,
when you entered,
day one, and nobody could convince him. We attempted to convince him to just come and answer our questions. But then no, he said no, he's not answerable to the commission. That's why he is where he is today. All the others are out and about, they are waiting for legal action against them, or they are hoping that they will be forgiven finally. Because we have made recommendations for people to be forgiven. Because for somebody like Sana, he exposed everything that happened. And he told us everything that happened. But he was remorseful and very regretful for the actions he took and others. And he attempted several times to meet the people he had victimized to ask for forgiveness and reconciliation. And that was what was impressive about him, because he on his own was attempting to reconcile himself with the people he had injured. And that is not very common among human beings. Especially for somebody like Sana and the power that he had. Well, but to see him come down to his knees to beg for forgiveness, for me, that was very sympathetic. But at the same time, it gave me that even people who are hard-hearted, they can be soft-hearted when they realize their mistakes. And this is why, in fact, you can see on the recommendations for Sana, it was recommended that he should be acquitted, should be let off.
Of all the things.
Yeah, because he's plain, he's frank, he's honest about what happened, and he helped to give us a big insight into actually what transpired.
Like, for example, to help you, make you
commission to do our work. He was very helpful.
So, but for Yankuba, you would say he's the one who
was defiant, unnecessarily rude and difficult, totally defiant, and of course that no commission would accept that.
But you guys have tried everything before to make sure.
Yes, we called them 3 times to the room, back to the room, to be guided, but he refused.
Yeah.
And this expression of guilt and seeking for forgiveness is very, very common among all the people who harmed other people. They came out plainly, cried and asked for forgiveness. Probably it could be crocodile tears, but then the action is so acceptable that you cannot just throw it out and say, no, these people are acting. They're not acting. You could see that they were not acting. They are really very sorry, and they are very repentant and remorseful.
So even in the case of Alaji Kanyi, what do you learn from his testimony?
He's my star.
Your star?
Yeah.
You call him your star?
Yeah. See, because he's also helped us.
But for him, many people were saying Alaji was lying and this and that. But we can see clearly he was crying and so on. But what do you learn from him?
Yes. I admire him very much.
Alaji Kanyi.
Yeah. I mean, his action and subsequent actions of other people who are involved with the murder of Koro Sise. He alone could give that explanation. And it was very plain and very descriptive, from taking sticks, hitting this young man, and all the actions they took on him. Very graphic. He told us everything. And when finally, I remember, he said that we took him away to Jambul area and dumped him there. Koro's sister was sitting opposite me, and she just shouted at the top of her voice, "Truly, I know now my brother is dead." Yes. So this type of situations, you see them, you are sitting there, you are a human being, and for me, particularly a religious leader, as an imam of more than 30 years experience, I was very much shocked. I could not understand what motivated these people to take such an action on such a gentle, handsome young man. It's shocking.
But don't you think, Imam, also power can also be sometimes, or power can sometimes push people to also do other things? Because looking at them, some would say by then some of these people were very powerful in front of they have that power. One is head up, they were, for example, recognized by Jame, or some other things, for example, things like that, leading to some using their power to do some other things. For example,
No, it was not just on their own. The fact that they were organized and they had a group of people who had to do what they had to do, and when one group was acting, nobody who is not part of that group would know what is happening. And nobody dares to go back again and retell the story to anybody. It is this secrecy that is, for me, as a member of the TRRC, I couldn't digest it. I found it difficult over time to understand why this was happening. I'm sure if it were me, I would have been killed, because I would say, no, I'm not going to do it.
you would.
No, sure. But these people, I don't know what happened, but some of them tell you they drugged us, they gave us drinks, they gave us this. And if you remember when I asked Oya in Fula, why were you doing these actions? Was it for money or for what? He told me in Fula, Baba, and Hebani Kalis, you go 5,000, go to maybe.
Out of those killings.
Yes, all those actions, he said, he got only $5,000. So you can see I cannot understand how they could be so manipulated that they have not made even the attempt to escape from this situation. If I were amongst them, I would have tried to get out of this situation, even if I'll get killed, but I'll go away. But they stayed on. And that is the story today.
So, just to remind you that you're watching at Gambian Talents TV here with me. This is your favorite program, Bankola Kuwo, that comes your way on every Sunday from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. And my guest here is Imam Jallow, ex-commissioner of TRRC, the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission here, taking us through some of the experiences he gathered or learned from the TRRC. Now, Imam, when it comes to giving your recommendations, after doing everything, your recommendations, how did it went between or amongst you, the commissioners, the council, the chairman? Sometimes these decisions can be very difficult. The way you would think and the way the next person would think might be very difficult. At the end of the day, gathering all those recommendations before you are done with all that, you would have to do a lot of push and pull. How was it like?
It was a big task. There was a lot of argument. Most of the conclusions were...
And it was between you, the commissioners, the lead council.
That's right.
And the chairman and the...
That's the council,
Yeah,
the chairman,
the council.
including all others. But the lead councils did not intervene.
Oh.
They only made recommendations and guided us when necessary. But the decisions were purely ours. And it was always a unanimous action. There was no dissent in any of the conclusions we made, as far as I can remember. Nothing strongly, or nobody stood strongly against any of the conclusions. So it was unanimous.
So, but then there was a lot of push and pull.
Oh yeah, we will discuss the merits and demerits of the case. We will look at how did this happen. Why did it happen? What happened to this man? Although we are not sociologists, but we have had some elementary sociology and psychology as teachers, and as as lawyers and doctors and other walks of life. So these decisions were mainly based on the facts themselves as they presented themselves. It was a matter of legal implications or thoughts or guidelines. No, it's the facts that had come before us. That was what we looked and made a pronouncement on the situation.
Based on facts. You
The facts
acted
that-
based
yes,
on the
yes,
facts
yeah.
presented to you.
Yeah. Of course, with the guidelines of the professional council groups. Yes.
Yeah. So from there, you submitted your recommendations, and but then still now, because we can hear from the government saying still now they're on the process. But then, what are you expecting from after carrying that heavy tax and up to the ending, submitting your recommendations, but then still now, what are you expecting still now?
Well, thank God, government has accepted all the, I think it's 52 recommendations except 2. All the recommendations except 2. That's the only 2 that government did not accept. So we hope they will execute accordingly, because the recommendations are quite clear and they are unbiased and straightforward, because these are confessions that have been made by people. So you cannot now turn around and say, I will deny this or accept this or reject this. But the degree of involvement is your own evidence that you give before us and before the world, because everybody is hearing you at the same time. So this is a matter that anyone can contribute and say, well, I think these decisions were quite genuine and acceptable. Anyway, the agencies that were sponsoring the TRRC program were very pleased with the report and with the recommendations. So
They're very concerned.
we hope, yes, I hope government will execute every one of those recommendations. I understand now they are trying to find sponsors or support to start legal programs against the individuals. I say bravo, because that is what should happen now.
You are very happy to hear that.
I'm very happy, because then I know it's slow. The action is slow, but it will come. Most people,
Like
will
some
say,
would say, the thing is very, very slow, and before these people will have reparation or something like that, and the victims themselves, before they have these reparations and something, it will take a lot of time, or even some of them might lose their lives, something like that. The gap are some of the things people are complaining. But
Well, you see, the TRRC did not have money lying down for compensation. The agencies, the UN agencies that were responsible, and the Ministry of Justice did all the necessary activity to get the support, and that was what carried the commission over the time. So when these recommendations were made, I was glad to hear the other day that the UN rep saying that they have finally secured some funds to start the process. And I saw them on TV, and that day I was very pleased,
you are very
because I knew that at least these people have a chance to come forward and defend themselves. They will also have the chance,
like the
to be heard.
perpetrators.
That's right, to be heard, and that the reparation also would continue. Of course, government gave us a lot of money at the beginning for reparations, and everybody who was a victim enjoyed something. Although
At some point.
So yeah, at one point or the other, but there is still more to go on, and I hope that they'll be able to gather the funds to compensate the people properly, even if they are no longer living, because what you get is for you and your family. You are gone already, or something has happened to you, Somebody has maimed you, but that money will not be even to keep you alive for another 10 years. But then at least it is the repentance and the acceptance of responsibility that should please you as a person, that this was destined and it had happened to you. Not so much the money that is given out.
But like at some point, some some able to, for example, were some able to go to overseas treatments, because we had.
Yes, they
saying
took some overseas
people
treatment to India and to other places. Yes, they
but
did.
not all the victims that were affected physically.
No, not
For
certainly
example.
not all the victims. It was the very severe cases that had special attention, and they were assisted very early in the process to get their treatment, and some of them are still with us. Thank God.
So, Imam, without government implementing this report, what do you think can be the consequence for this country?
Well, we don't want to encourage anarchy. We don't want people to violate again the laws. We don't want people to start taking revenge. Thankfully, we are a very peaceful nation. Since the completion of the TRRC, nothing has happened to show that somebody is taking a revenge. That is the nature of the Gambian people. But all the same, they should also ensure that they act accordingly to reward or to compensate those people who have been injured. They need to do that by whatever means.
So without it, for example, because still we didn't see it happen 100%. For example, they said they're in the process, but for example, what I'm saying, without the recommendations or the report being implemented fully, what do you think can happen as far as your experience is concerned? And we are not praying for us to have certain problems in this country, but we are saying since it didn't happen yet 100%, and for example, some of the expectations, like the negative aspects of it, that we are not praying for example. Yeah, so
Gambians are peaceful by nature, and they accept the will of God. Some of these things happen to people, and they didn't even expect this would happen to them. Or people took action on people, they don't even know them. So I don't think it is a question of hatred or bitterness or tribal conflict or war or tribal differences that has degenerated into these actions. It is purely an action of the executive who wanted to control power and remain in power. So what we must understand as Gambians is that this is what happened to us. It's ill-fated, but we can get over it, forgive and forget.
So left to you alone, yeah, Imam. Would you forgive Jame? Left to you alone in your decision, for example, or Jame together with all the perpetrators.
If he comes forward, if Jame comes forward and tells the whole story, it's up to the Gambian people to forgive him. We all make mistakes, but he must come forward and accept responsibility. Otherwise, I cannot forgive him. Because that is the principle of forgiving. The person must come, tell you what he did, how he did it, why he did it, and then show that he is very remorseful that he did that, and ask you for forgiveness. And that's the only time I can probably consider saying, well, let's forgive or let us not forgive. Let him face the law. That's what the country is for. That's why you have laws in the country. We don't just forgive people. Even the law forgives people.
Mhm.
You do certain actions, it will be up to the judge to determine the nature of the case
Mhm.
and decide on either a very small sentence or even acquit you completely until you go home. That is the prerogative of the commissioners, but then we cannot do it until we hear from him. I'm yearning to hear one fine day that he will come forward to the Gambian people and say, I did this, that, or I did not do it, and prove that he did not do it. He must be given a fair chance to defend himself.
But at some
Even
point,
though everybody
Mhm.
who came there said that they were under instruction, ranging from the heads of the units and departments to the lowest person. They all said that he instructed them. But for me, that is not enough.
so it's just an accusation, and
It's not accusation, but it's, what people tell me
Mhm.
is not necessarily acceptable until I have the opportunity to hear from the other party. We must hear from Jammeh.
both parties.
Yeah. And then you'll be able to say, well, you can forgive him.
So was Jami tried at some point to testify, for example, even if it is going to be online when the collision was on, or you guys did not put Jami into that plan, for example, for him also to testify either, even without his presence here, but testifying online like some other victims, some other victims will do, or something like that, for example.
I don't know what it was never reported to the commission that the prosecuting persons of the commission
Mhm.
made attempts to get to Yaya Jammeh or to invite him, or he himself doing the necessary move to say, look, I want to come back to my country. I want to be heard.
Mhm.
For me, I think that is more important than even being invited by the law to come and say or defend himself.
Mhm.
It's for him to come. This is his country. He's free to come.
Mhm.
Let him come. When I hear people talking in the streets, oh, he's coming tomorrow, or he's coming, and when he comes, he's going to take over the government. Fine. But if I were him, I would come.
If you are Jami, you will
Come
come.
rain, come sunshine, I'll come. I cannot run away from my country forever.
Mhm.
And particularly if I'm convinced that most of the stories told about me are not true, oh yeah, I'll come and defend myself.
For example, they are just mere allegations,
Well,
no matter how quantity they are, or no matter how big allegations are, for example.
yeah, because allegations are many. The victims are too many. So he alone can tell us the correct story. He is holding the key to the story of the actions of the people. Let him come forward and say it.
Yes. So, for example, Imam, now Jami did not testify yet.
Mhm.
He did not come yet. Don't you think also this can be, for example, it can bring chaos today to see Jami arriving here at this moment, for example? Yes, because you can see some are saying, they're waiting for Jami. Some are angry, for example, from different sectors of the country. Some are very angry. So to say Jami to come back here, for example, wouldn't bring any chaos, for example, especially the way the country is polluted at this moment politically.
Well, I don't think so. I don't share that view.
Mm.
This country is a peaceful nation. We have got over all the actions that we are taking, and it's been a long time, over 24 years. People are learning to forget. when Jammeh is coming to this country, he's under protection and under guidance. But whatever, I think, wherever, whether in this country or outside this country, he should be given a chance to hear from him, because we have not heard from him. And I think that will help a lot to create reconciliation. Because if he admits that, yes, I'm responsible for this, then that will be the opportunity. I was the chairperson of the Reconciliation Committee. And I have learned that for people to be forgiven, or people come forward and speak the truth and tell you exactly what happened, is very soothing. It helps to make you forgive and forget. But he needs to do that.
Yeah, so as far as you experiencing, or for example, being a chairman of that committee, the Reconciliation Committee, right after the different testimonies, for example, how many people were you able to bring together that forgive each other, you know?
You see what was impressive about that exercise? Most of the people who are seeking to be reconciled were the culprits themselves, the perpetrators. They went out to ask for an opportunity to reconcile with their victims. And that was what was impressive. We did not use our position as commissioners to go and convince them that you must come and reconcile with X, Y, or Z. They went out to search for their victims and to request the agreement of the persons concerned for them to be reconciled. The cases were many. I don't know how many of them altogether, but the records are there. If anybody cares to know.
But at least you were able to.
Many people. And what was impressive, I said, is that the culprits, the perpetrators, they are the ones who championed the meeting for reconciliation.
And that it makes it very easy for you.
Yeah, that's why